ordinance. Lonnie, would you deliver the invocation, please?
Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to get together, just conduct the city business. Lord, we just ask you to watch over mayor and council, watch over all the development that's looking like it's coming to Jasper. Lord, we just ask you to watch over our emergency personnel, law enforcement, and all the government leaders. Lord, we just ask you these favors in your name. Amen.
Some of you lead the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, your agenda, I think everything's good with it, Brandon, except for item K. Would you like to, that's consideration instead of continuation?
Yes, sir, that needs to actually be alcohol license request for approval, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. If you'll change, that is the only change on your agenda that I think you've already received. Council, with that, would entertain a motion.
Motion approved with that change.
Motion to approve with change.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Minutes of the June 3rd, 2019 regular meeting. Lisa.
Regular council meeting Monday, June 3rd, 2019. Mayor Weaver called the meeting to order promptly at 6 p.m. He requested Sean Faust give the invocation. He called on Councilmember Kurt Raffel to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Weaver asked that the agenda be reviewed and approved by council. Mayor Weaver stated that there had been one item added since the agenda went out on Friday. He stated that an alcohol license request for continuation had been added as item E under new business. Councilmember Ransom made a motion to adopt the agenda as presented with the addition. Councilmember Kurt Raffel seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Mayor Weaver called on City Clerk Lisa Hoyle to read the minutes of the May 6, 2019 regular meeting. 3 corrections were noted by Mayor and Council. Correction to date of minutes read, a change from Ransom to Councilmember Proctor, seconding the motion on the minutes as read. And under item J, change Mayor Weaver to Mayor Pro Tem Faust. Councilmember Kurt Raffel made a motion to adopt the minutes as corrected. After discussion, all voted in favor. Item A, under old business, Mayor Weaver recognized Jackie Dunn to present to council additional information on the street lighting project for 2019 Christmas. Mr. Dunn stated that the $8,210 quote he presented last month did not include installation. He stated that if the city installed the lighting, that the warranty would still apply. He discussed electricity usage and storage. More discussion followed. Mayor Weaver entertained a motion. Action failed for lack of a motion. Item B, under old business, Mayor Weaver asked for committee updates. Councilmember Sonny Proctor gave an update on the Economic Development Director Hiring Committee and the Parole Roper Pool Property Development Committee. City Manager Brandon Douglas gave an update on the cost of construction aid committee. Item A, under new business, Mayor Weaver recognized Mr. Samuel Latimer of Russian & Company to present the 2018 annual financial audit. Mr. Latimer reported that the city had received an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. Mr. Latimer also stated that the audit found no material weaknesses and no instances of noncompliance. He stated that the audit found one significant deficiency and that the city lacked segregation of duties over alcohol and business licenses. He stated that the city did not have enough employees to properly segregate duties. Mayor Weaver entertained a motion to accept the 2018 audited financial statements and the audit report and approve it for submission to the State of Georgia Department of Audits. Councilmember Kurt Raffel made such motion. Councilmember Ransom seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Item B, under new business, Mr. Latimer presented the results of the agreed-upon procedures performed at the Pickett Chamber regarding the hotel motel funds that the city paid to the chamber during 2018. He discussed the procedures performed and stated that the chamber spent the funds as required by state law. Item C, under new business, Mayor Weaver recognized Planning and Zoning Director Sonny Underwood and City Manager Brandon Douglas to present for council's consideration a request from Davenport Root Investments LLC, owner and applicant, to request a change in zoning from R1 low-density single-family residential to C1A office residential. Be approved on parcel number JA15069, located at 634 South Main Street. Mr. Douglas stated the Planning Commission had met on May 9th and heard this request for rezoning. Mr. Douglas stated that there were no public in attendance to support or oppose, that Commissioner Martha Poole had provided comments that she had heard some reservations from neighbors, and there were no more comments from the commission. He stated that the vote was 1-1 with Commissioner Poole voting not to rezone and Commissioner Luke Copeland to recommend the zoning change to council. Commission Chair Robert Walker broke the tie by voting in favor of recommending the zoning change. Mayor, we recognize the Davenports to give a presentation of plans for the property. Ms. Rachel Davenport stated that they wanted to work out of the home doing real estate with just their team. She stated that they were not going to change the look of the home. She stated that they would have one small sign on the porch. Mr. Davenport stated that they had been using the home as a satellite office and staying there occasionally. Councilmember Proctor asked if they had another office in Pickens County. The Davenport stated no, that there are other offices in Cherokee County. Councilmember Proctor also asked, were they currently running a real estate office out of the South Main Street location? Ms. Davenport stated that the Davenports, were using it and occasionally they let their agents use the property. She stated that it was currently being used as a home office. Councilmember Proctor asked how long have they been doing this. The Davenports replied for about a year. Councilmember Proctor asked did they have a business license, and they stated they did now. Mr. Davenport stated that they were told by Sonny Underwood that they needed to get a business license when they started the process of rezoning the property. Councilmember Proctor asked why they didn't get a license when they started the office. Did they not think about getting a license at that time? Mr. Davenport replied that everything was based out of Cherokee County because it was ran out of the brokerage name. Ms. Davenport stated that the brokerage held the license, but through the zoning change, it was necessary to get a business license. Councilmember Antonelli asked, was the property on historic register? Ms. Davenport stated, not to her knowledge. Councilmember Proctor asked, were they aware of buffer requirements? And Ms. Davenport replied that she was not. Councilmember Proctor stated that he did not see that the property was buffered, but that is one of the requirements as well. Councilmember Proctor stated that C1A zoning was a little easier to swallow rather than C1 or C2 zoning in which you could have any commercial business. He stated that C1A restricts the use some, but that there are a lot of businesses that you could do other than real estate. Councilmember Proctor stated that South Main Street honestly was dear to his heart, and although he's not directly in conflict due to the distance between his and their home, he does take pride in that being a historic residential area that continues to evolve. He stated that his concerns, just being frank, if we allow this, there are several houses around there which may or may not decide to make their business commercial as well. He stated that there are plenty of places in our city and county for a real estate office to be located. He stated that it was a hard thing to swallow since Ms. Davenport and himself had a prior professional relationship, so this is a tough decision for him. Councilmember Antonelli asked, what are permitted uses for C1A? Mr. Douglas stated that in council's packet it gives the permitted uses by district. Mayor Weaver entertained a motion. Mayor Weaver asked again for a motion. Mayor Weaver stated that being no motion, action fell for lack of motion. Mr. Douglas presented for council's consideration a request by Ms. Manitoulin Investments LLC, owner and applicant, to request to annex parcel number 0410190001 located at 63717 Camp Road, property behind the Quick Trip, as C2 general commercial zoning. Mr. Douglas stated that the applicant was wanting to come into the city to use city utilities and to make the property more marketable. He stated the applicant had been provided with the permitted uses for C2 zoning since there was not a specific use identified in the application. Mr. Douglas stated that the Planning Commission had met on May 9, 2019 and had voted 2-0 with Chairman Walker's vote not being necessary to recommend this annexation and zoning to council. Mr. Douglas stated that the applicant was present. Mayor Weaver asked Mr. David Schaus with Manitoulin if he wanted to say anything to council to mess this up. Mr. Schaus stated no. Mayor Weaver entertained a motion. No motion was made. Mayor Weaver stated to Mr. Schaus that he might want to say something that he couldn't get a motion. Mr. Schaus stated that the planned use was for a 25-year business, a steakhouse, that is planning to contract with them. He stated that they had 194 locations and that they were ready to sign a contract. There was no discussion by council. Mayor Weaver entertained a motion. Action fell for lack of a motion. Mr. Douglas presented for council approval an amendment to the city's planning and zoning ordinance to define vape shops and to include vape shops in districts where appropriate. He stated that staff is recommending that the vape shops be included as permitted use in C2 general commercial and M1 general industry. Mayor Weaver had Mr. Douglas read the amendment and stated that this would be considered the first reading. Item D under new business, Peaks of Jasper, Gary Hammond, is tabled until the August 5th, 2019 regular council meeting. Item E under new business, Mayor Weaver recognized Sonny Underwood to present an application for selling alcohol, beer, wine, liquor by the drink from Fats Restaurant located at 800 Noah Avenue. Mr. Underwood stated that the restaurant had gone through bankruptcy. He stated that after the application had been received by the city, the person designated as the licensee manager had changed. Mayor Weaver entertained a motion to allow Fats to continue the process for the alcohol license. Councilmember Kurt Raffle made such motion. Councilmember Tony Fountain seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Item F under new business, Mayor Weaver recognized Mr. Douglas to present to council plans for a wooden ramp to be built by Brandy Strong owner of One Sweet World LLC located at 69 North Main Street. He stated that Ms. Strong wishes to remove the step protruding from her shop and replace it with a wooden handicap accessible ramp. He presented council with a detailed construction drawing of the ramp. Mr. Douglas stated that after consulting with the city attorney, a temporary encroachment agreement with the city would be best for the access improvement. He stated that with the temporary agreement, the city could decide at any time that the ramp could be removed. Mayor Weaver recognized Mrs. Strong. Discussion followed. Mayor Weaver asked how much walking area would be left, not counting the tree area of the remaining sidewalk. Councilmember Kurt Raffel made a motion to approve the request. More discussion followed. Attorney Bill Pickett stated that he did not recommend the city enter into an encroachment agreement because an encroachment agreement in real estate is permanent. Councilmember Raffel clarified his motion that council approve a license agreement for the construction of the accessible ramp. Mayor Weaver called for a second. Motion fell for lack of a second. Councilmember Sonny Proctor stated that he would like to look at all the options and table this until the next meeting. Mayor Weaver stated that when the sidewalks were redone years ago, the goal would be to have unobstructed flow for walking. Mayor Weaver stated to Ms. Strong that he believed she could repetition the council. Item G under new business, Mayor Weaver recognized Lonnie Waters and City Attorney Bill Pickett to present to council the need for a citation amount in the cruelty to animals ordinance amendment that was approved last fall. Mr. Waters stated that when the ordinance amendment was made, the city failed to include citation amounts for the violations. Mr. Waters reads the amendment as suggested by Mr. Pickett. Mr. Pickett suggested that the fine could be anywhere from $50 to $150. Discussion followed. Councilmember John Faust made a motion that council set the fine at $50 for the first offense, $100 for the second offense, and $150 for the third offense. Councilmember Kurt Raffel seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Item H under new business, Mayor Weaver recognized Brandon Douglas to present to council options for sanitation trucks. Mr. Douglas presented two options. Option one would be to lease purchase the same type truck as the city is currently utilizing. He stated that he had received quotes at a cost ranging from $122,000 to $148,000 for that type vehicle. He stated option two would be to select a smaller 8-yard truck and purchase a pickup truck with a device which would allow garbage to be loaded and then dumped into the larger truck. He stated that option two would allow for more maneuverability in our community. He stated that he had two quotes for the 8-yarder, one for $101,773, and one for $102,700, and the total cost of the pickup and device would be right at $40,000. Discussion followed. Mayor Weaver called for a motion. Councilmember John Faust made a motion that the city go with option two as presented, and I meant to put at the lower quote. Councilmember Kurt Raffel seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. At this time, Councilmember Tony Fountain had to leave the meeting. Item I under new business, Mayor Weaver recognized Water and Sewer Superintendent David Hall and Brandon Douglas to present bids on the repair or painting of the water tank as tabulated by Turnip Seed Engineers. The bids received are as follows. Precise Contractors Incorporated, Moulton, Georgia, $105,800. Utility Service Company Incorporated, Perry, Georgia, $115,300. Southeastern Tank and Tower Incorporated of Lake Park, Georgia, $117,600. Pittsburgh Tank and Tower Maintenance Company Incorporated of Henderson, Kentucky was non-responsive. Mr. Hall stated that Mr. Chris Paget of Turnip Seed Engineers had checked the references and recommended that the city award the contract to the low bidder, Precise Contractors Incorporated. Mayor Weaver entertained a motion. Councilmember Kurt Raffel made a motion to accept the low bid of $105,800 from Precise Contractors, Inc. Councilmember Sonny Proctor seconded the motion. Discussion followed. Motion carried unanimously. Item J under new business, Mayor Weaver called on Mr. Hall and Mr. Douglas to give an update on the Grandview waterline project. Mr. Douglas stated that plans are to present items to purchase at the July regular meeting in order to get started on the project. He stated they were planning on completing the project in phases. Mr. Hall stated that the county had been testing the treatment of water. Item K under new business, Mayor Weaver recognized Mr. Hall's request for repair work on the water pollution control plant dump truck. Mr. Hall stated that the truck was used to haul gravel and work projects and also used to haul sludge to the landfill. Mr. Hall stated that the truck needed brake repair to the front and rear. He stated that he had two quotes, Wormy's truck repair at $6,500 and Cope Equipment at $7,500. He stated that he could not obtain more quotes as those were the only two interested in the repair work. Mayor Weaver entertained a motion. Councilmember John Faust made a motion to approve the low quote of Wormy's truck repair at $6,500. Councilmember Sonny Proctor seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Item L under new business, Mayor Weaver called on Mr. Douglas to give an update on the 2020 SPLOST. Mr. Douglas stated that he, the mayor, and some key staff attended a county meeting on May 16th, along with county staff, as well as other cities in the county. The county provided the statutory number of meetings as required, and the city asked for additional meetings beyond the statutory requirements. Mayor Weaver stated that he wished to appoint council members Sonny Proctor and John Faust to a committee to negotiate the 2020 SPLOST with the county. On the staff level, he also appointed Mr. Douglas and Lisa Hoyle. Item M under new business, Mayor Weaver recognized Lisa Hoyle to present an application for reduced water and sewer rates. Ms. Hoyle stated that the applicant met all requirements for the reduced rates. Following review by council, Councilmember Kurt Bradfield made a motion to approve the application. Councilmember John Faust seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Finance Director Lisa Hoyle gave a financial report for the month of May 2019. Lonnie Waters gave a report on the roads and streets. Chief Greg Lovell gave a report of police activities for the month of May 2019. Chief Steve Roper gave a report of fire activities for the month of May 2019. Being no other business to come before council, Mayor, we adjourn the meeting. Council is scheduled to convene next at the regular meeting to be held July 1st, 2019.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to accept the minutes.
Motion to accept or approve the minutes as read with that minor change.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. Being all in favor, vote by show of hands. Unanimous. Thank you, Lisa. Under old business, Grandview water line request for materials. Brandon, David.
Mr. Mayor and Council, as you recall, the Grandview project, there have been monies allocated, budgeted, of which $75,000 was cash. And working with finance, we thought it would be prudent to present you all a phased approach. This first phase being approximately $25,000 we were seeking. David and Charlotte essentially spec'd out what they thought they would need that would hit that $25,000 mark. We did solicit and receive 3 estimates. And Mr. Mayor, if you'd like, I can read the quantity and the amount. The first came in, or not the first, but the first one was Core and Main, and all of these were the same specs, so essentially staff provided them with what we would need. And it came in at $22,419.20. The other estimate is from Fortiline. It came in at $24,184.08. And the other was Calhoun Meter Company. It came in at $21,988. It's $988, no change.
Would you entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion that we take the Calhoun meter for $21,988, and the lowest quote.
Got a motion for the lowest bid from Calhoun Meter. Second. Motion is second. Discussion. Being all in favor, vote by show of hands. That's unanimous. Thank you, guys. I hair down this little bit. I'm going into a ship.
You're not the only one.
Need to bring you about one bottle.
Everybody cold besides me. Item B, ordinance amendment, cruelty to animals, second reading. Brandon, Mr. Pickett, and Lonnie.
You read it.
Okay.
I'll defer to him, Mr. Mayor.
You read the other one. Okay, the ordinance that we had for cruelty to animals being locked in a car or anything over 70 degrees outside temperature. We'd like for this to be the second reading. Addition to Chapter 14, Article 1, add Section 1414, add the following: 1414 cruelty to animal. Violation of Section 14-12 shall carry a maximum penalty of a fine of $50 for the first offense, $100 for the second offense, and $150 for the third offense, and all subsequent offenses. And I'd like to add this, have you sign this and add this amendment to the ordinance.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion to approve this as a second reading to our ordinance. What's the code section again?
This will be 14-14.
Okay, when I sign it, we'll submit that to Ms. Hoyle, and she will get that codified. Along with a few other, I think we have in advance. We entertain a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion to approve by Kurt, second by Ann. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lon. Okay, item C, zoning ordinance amendment, vape shop, second reading. Brandon, Ms. Pickett.
Mr. Mayor, Council, this will be the second reading. For the reminder of the council and for the public, what we're doing is not regulating the business of vape shops, but rather it was silent in our zoning ordinance. So this would be the second reading to be incorporated the definition into section 94-2 of the definitions of our zoning ordinance. Vape shop means any business whose principal product line for retail sale is alternative nicotine products or vape juice or both. For the purposes of this section, alternative nicotine products refer to any products or devices that employ electronic heating element, power source, electronic circuit, battery, or other electronic, chemical, or mechanical means to produce a vapor that delivers nicotine to the person inhaling from the device, including electronic cigarettes, electronic cigars, electronic hookahs, electronic bongs, and electronic pipes, whether manufactured, distributed, marketed, or sold as an electronic cigarette, electronic cigar, or electronic pipe. For the purpose of this section, vape juice refers to any liquid that contains compounds containing pharmaceutical-grade vegetable glycerin, propylene, glycol, nicotine, food-grade flavoring, and water. It can be used for vaping by means of an alternate nicotine product. For the purposes of this code section, principle shall mean that alternative nicotine product, vape juice, or both constitute at least 25% of the business's aggregate retail sales. Additionally, Mr. Mayor and Council, accompanying that definition, staff would recommend, and for the second reading, to be incorporated in section 94-81 in the permitted uses section. We would incorporate this as a use by right permitted use in the C2 and M1 zoning districts, unless otherwise.
We entertain a motion. Got a motion to approve as read.
Second.
Motion is second, discussion. Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, you sit right there, Brandon. Alcohol license request for approval, Fats Cafe, Mr. Underwood, and Brandon. Oh, see, oh, there it is.
Mr. Mayor, we got the letter back today from the funding branch for Ms. Blitzinger,
Okay.
and there's nothing to keep her from getting that license.
Okay. Mr. Pickett, anything to add to this? Brandon?
No, sir.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the license for Fats Cafe, the Miss Insector or whatever the name was that you just mentioned. We have that written down. For the minutes, if you would, with that, need a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. It's unanimous, thank you. Okay, thank you, son. Item E, 69 North Main Street, possible encroachment license agreement. Brandon?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, Council, you may recall from last month's meeting, I just struck out an encroachment as City Attorney Bill Pickett stated we should not pursue that. So as such, the staff had received a request to reconsider this. As such, we put on the agenda for any sort of reconsideration. I do not have any additional information to provide other than, as we discussed, should this be something that the elected body want us to pursue, we would work with our legal counsel to arrive at some sort of license agreement that still gives the city full discretion and authority to remove anything that's out there. And with that, I'm not sure anything else, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. We're going to entertain a motion.
Make a motion for the city manager and city attorney to be approved to establish or create a license agreement for ramp at 69 North Main Street.
Second.
The motion is second. Discussion. Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Appears to be unanimous. Item F, peak of Jasper, Gary Hammond, table, Brandon, table until August the 5th.
Yes, sir. He had originally scheduled when he tabled the June 3rd. I advised him that he would be on the July 1 agenda. He quickly advised me that he was going to be out of town and requested to be at least put on the agenda as tabled until August 5th. I entertained that request, and as such, he was just still planning on being here the 5th.
So that's basically just keeping him on old business.
Yes, sir.
So that would be tabled. We'll entertain a motion to table this as requested.
So moved.
And the motion to table. Discussion, all in favor, vote show of hands. It's tabled. Okay. Under new business, zoning issue, Mr. Dilbeck.
Yes, sir.
Address the council. You ask and you shall receive.
Okay. I appreciate the time to speak to the mayor and council. I want to open up a discussion to consider the current zoning and the current uses of the properties in Mountain City Business Park. Mountain City Business Park was developed and brought into the city of Jasper 19 years ago. Since its completion, it's looked like, referred to, and treated as an industrial park. Most of the original occupants, and including the current occupants, include businesses that either involve some level of manufacturing or distribution, while the whole complex is on C2. None of the occupants I've been able to speak to, nor any real estate agents involved in any transactions in there, didn't know that the warehouses were zoned C2, the same as any other retail in the city. Of the approximate 40 parcels in the park, and for the council, I had sent earlier a copy of what I've got here, aerial of the complex. Of those 40 parcels that are in there, I currently own 8 of them, 4 of which I've not yet built on, and I wish to proceed with building on those to bring even more business to the city of Jasper. My request is for the mayor and council just to open up the conversation on the current zoning of it and to consider either changing it to a new class of zoning or specifying it individually, Mountain City Business Park is having its own class of zoning, but to allow those businesses that are there currently that are either manufacturing or distributing. There's a good number of them. Some of them which currently occupy my buildings as well. Actually, some of them.
We're talking about just the cul-de-sac.
No, I'm talking about the,
Across the road, we have Dodge Tractor.
Mountain City Business Park is literally Confederate Avenue, Confederate something else that turns off of it.
All of it is a cul-de-sac. It's dead end. There's no
Yeah. There's actually 4 roads in the complex.
The one you have the Tater Patch Players.
Correct. And you also have on that Super Door Service, a cabinet shop, my son, which distributes medical equipment from one of my buildings. You've got Onyx, you've got Daystar, you've got a t-shirt printing company.
You got one of our largest manufacturers there, which is Daystar.
Yeah.
How many, they have several vehicles, employees?
I don't know the number. I have not actually spoke to them personally. I have spoken to several others. And I spoke to, there's a couple of buildings for sale in there currently, one of which also is a manufacturer. They weren't aware that
With that,
under
you-
C2 they wouldn't be
With
allowed.
that, you asked for discussion.
That's all I need.
Council need open it for discussion, to see if we can solve and recognize the problem Mr. Dilbeck has. Let's recognize it first and then solve it. Any questions, council?
How many businesses do we have over there? Do you know?
I couldn't hear you, I'm sorry.
How many businesses do we have over there? Do you know?
Well, there's 40 different properties, and all of them have warehouses on them except for 4. So
And they're zoned commercial.
they're all zone C2.
This property was annexed in 19 years ago, and the developer at the time had the vision basically to commercial development. And they named it the business park, and the city began to issue building permits for industrial development.
Right.
And a lot of times industrial and commercial don't work well together. If you have a commercial with a lot of traffic, it could affect somebody's employees getting in and out, or heavy truck traffic, which you have in that area.
There's a lot of it.
But you're looking at a potential commercial area there as well in the business park. So you're basically asking for a mixed use of commercial and industrial in that area.
I'm just asking that we have a discussion.
Well, that's what you're asking.
Yeah,
That's what you're
exactly.
asking.
Yeah, because it's what it is currently. When you
You
got,
want to, what you want is for us to match what the use is with our paperwork here at City Hall.
right.
And that would help you how, if that would happen.
Well, number one, as I have tenants change, currently, I don't think anyone's having a problem that's in there, but as any of us have tenants change, at what point is the C2 strictly enforced? And you wouldn't be allowed to put in a company like an Onyx or a Daystar or the 2 cabinet shops.
So you're worried that you may have future use and it might not be.
Well, there's that also, and then there's the 4 that I'm not going to build on all 4 of them right now, but the 2 lots that I want to build on. What should I build? Should I build the same thing that's there, which are mostly 5,000 to 10,000 square foot warehouses? But you don't need a 5,000 or 10,000 square foot warehouse for a C2 zoning.
The council, you understand what he's saying?
The 4 that you already have, what are they?
I have more than 4. That's just 4 vacant ones. I have 8.
But didn't you say you had 4 more?
Yeah.
That's already been built on, what are they?
You've got Spectrum Medical, which is a wholesale distribution of medical equipment. Distribution is not allowed in C2, at least on paper. I've got a cabinet shop, and manufacturing's not allowed in C2 according to paper.
Right.
I've got Annie's, the strip center where Annie's is. When I look it up on the records, it shows as Philadelphia Park, not Mountain City Business Park. It's in between the two, and I think that's where the council needs to look at the map and look at the aerial I gave and go, you know what, maybe these that front on Old Philadelphia Road, maybe those that front should stay C2. They shouldn't be affected by what all the backlots are. I also have North Georgia Automotive, which is automotive and tire sales. I just recently,
Do they actually change tires
Yeah.
at that location? Okay,
Yeah.
that's definitely commercial.
yeah, they do everything automotive. I recently just sold one of the buildings that Onyx is now using, so that's heavy manufacturing.
Okay. And it was brought to your attention that the zoning was kind of iffy with what you want to build versus what you have already.
Oh, and I've also got the Revelation Aerospace. I knew I was missing something.
So council, you have a grasp of what he's asking?
Seems like to me we need to do some sort of root cause analysis of how this evolved,
Yeah.
and then do an assessment of what we actually have going on in that area,
Right.
and taking into consideration how it happened and how it got this way, make some sort of plan on how we're going to be doing that moving forward. And
I think it's possible, Sonny, that over time, and I haven't taken the time or had the access to look, but I think it's possible over time that C2 then in 2000 versus C2 now, some things that may have come in and out of
It
it.
has changed.
So that's what I'm looking for. I just want to make sure that what I've got in, because I'm getting ready to have a tenant change in one of my buildings, and I don't want to advertise it as what it's not.
Let me, if the bank was aware of this zoning confusion, they wouldn't give you a loan.
I don't have a loan, but yeah, they would.
Well, some people have to have loans,
Yeah.
but they would, if I want to go buy one of your properties and it was zoned industrial, or as industrial use, but it's commercial, and you have the biggest issue that comes to city council attention in the past is a person who, let's say, had a property on West Church Street, where it was a residence for many years, and then they decided they wanted to put a dress shop in it, or a cosmetologist, which is exactly what happened in this particular. So they came and had to rezone that residential property to commercial use. And of course, that was kind of a little bit of spot zoning right in the middle of, or next to, across from commercial, but in residential. And that's East Church Street near the police station.
You'll even notice if you look up any properties for sale, and currently there's only 2, they're listed as industrial for sale. They don't even know that they're not industrial.
Well, I've still got my thought process going.
Sure.
They called and wanted to change that to C2 because the bank would not make a loan for them to become a C2 or finance it. And then the real issue is when you have a business that wants to be used as residential, the bank will not give you a loan for a property commercial zone that's used as residential. And this actually happened to this particular piece of property, which is now Amy Leake's beauty shop, or whatever she refers to, salon. And that has been changed 3 times to satisfy the banks. And so what should have happened years ago when this became an issue, the bank should have thrown the flag and it would have been corrected at that time. But it's really a slam dunk. Council can review it all they want, but what you really need to do is make this particular property, have a public hearing, probably at the city expense, have the advertising, have the zoning commission meet on it. So everyone from those properties that are affected can come in and speak, and then it comes before the council like a regular zoning issue. But we'll let the council debate this for a month. There's no rush. Are you planning to build anything soon?
I'd like to get Russell Howard back on the engineering, but I think a month or 2 is reasonable to get it figured out. Let's just,
It will take the zoning process for this to happen. So Brandon, if you will, move forward with this, I think, and then bring it before the council for the next meeting with a presentation. You can have anybody, council I'm sure will speak to you about it. So we'll have it on the agenda next month.
I appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you. Item B, Planning Commission report. 3 parcels. Brandon, I've got Robert Walker. I don't see him here though. I guess you're by yourself.
Okay, yes, sir. Okay. Mr. Mayor, Council, you have before you an item in which the Planning and Zoning Commission conducted a public hearing on June the 18th in regards to rezoning approximately 31 acres along 515 from C2 to RA with a conditional use of PUD, planning and development. There's a pretty extensive staff report that I can kind of hit some highlights, but I do want to let you know that you'll see in your staff report, page 4 of 4, under staff recommendation. I did speak with one of the applicants today in regards to number 2 under staff recommendation, and I have struck out number 2 in regards to the public hearing. There was public in attendance that it was overwhelming that their concern related to traffic. So any sort of reference that I made at the staff level to connect that development to Green Farm Street, I've just went ahead and struck out as a good practice of saying that they already have 2 existing means of ingress, egress proposed on the site plan. So the applicant and I were okay with that. Ultimately, to provide a synopsis, The rezoning hearing was conducted. The staff report essentially stated favorably that this could be considered as an applicant for PUD insomuch as it's consistent with a land use similar to the single-family residential homes in that area. So the intensity and/or any sort of adversely affecting economic values were not present. As such, the only thing that staff did acknowledge was that the lack of a public safety facility along 515 did mean that there was a delayed response from fire and police. However, that was perhaps something on the radar for future, so we did not think that was an impediment to this process. Water and sewer services can be provided to the property in terms of access. So by and large, we did give a favorable review. There were public in attendance, and if there's any public here tonight, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure if you want to call them, but there was concerns about Worley Crossroads in regards to if there was any sort of immediate plans to make improvements. I did talk with the county. They do not have any immediate plans to improve Worley Crossroads. So basically, the applicant at the meeting was receptive to the fact that anything through a plan review process of turn lane out or something similar to other subdivisions, Arbor Hill, etc., they were receptive to that. Short of not doing any sort of major improvements along the thoroughfare, which would not be asked by staff. So in that, if I have missed anything, I think the applicant is here this evening. If y'all want to hear specifically from
I think council usually likes to hear from both sides if there are people here who want to speak. So with that, if anyone wants to speak, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. More if you ask. Let me finish first and I'll recognize if you're going to get it, raise that hand. But we'll let the applicant speak first, and then we'll let anybody who wants to speak adversely to the project. So, Brandon, you may proceed with recognizing the parties involved.
Mr. Dean Will, applicant.
Hold the gavel right here.
Okay. Thank you for having us. We
I'll let you go when you have
are seeking to put a subdivision there. It will be a nice subdivision, probably at 225, 275 price range. Houses, something that there's a dire need for, affordable housing everywhere. And we feel like this is one of the few places that we can provide that. We have done probably 15 subdivisions in the past, and there's always some people that are concerned every time we come somewhere. But I've never had anybody that was anything but happy when we're done with the subdivision and we leave, and the whole area is enhanced, and so I really believe in our product, and believe this is a good place for us to do business. And we're concerned about anybody that's got any issues we're concerned about. I'd be happy to talk with them. So anything we can do, we're here to try to help.
How many houses did you say?
Well, we really, honestly, we won't know until we get all the stuff done. I mean, it'll be somewhere, I'm thinking, between 150 and 180. I mean, that's honestly, it's just like, there's a big wet area comes up in that property. That it could be 140. You really don't know if you get at this stage. It's just a guess.
And if I may, I did point out, clarify in the hearing and for the commission members and the public, the PUD zoning does allow for up to 8 units per acre. I think what Mr. Woodall has indicated was, regardless of that, he wasn't seeking that level of density.
No,
but
probably
to
5 or 6.
Cap it at whatever is feasible in terms of topography.
Yeah, I'd say 6 units per acre would be probably a maximum. I doubt we get that.
So you're asking for around 6 units, no more than 6?
Right.
And that would be helpful when you ask for that.
Yeah.
Mr. Douglas will hold you to that.
Yeah. He said 8 is possible. We'd be happy with 6.
That's
Yeah, I don't think we'll get that anyway.
that's less than apartment complexes.
Yeah, and it's gonna be single family, detached houses, attached garages, amenity area, swimming pool, pool area with a clubhouse, not a major clubhouse, but something, probably spend $250,000 on a clubhouse and a swimming pool. Yeah.
Did you have photos of it or renderings of this?
Well, we've sent some. We honestly, until we get, we've got ideas. That's really all we got. We've turned some renderings in,
Okay.
but until we can get a little further, we really, don't know. But it'll be single family, detached, probably between 1,400 and 2,400 square feet.
Okay. Maybe over 1,400. Okay. Anybody else want to speak on behalf of your project?
What's this currently zoned now, Brandon? 'Cause we went through a zoning issue
C2.
before. C2. Where we had to do residential.
And that's, the way that was advertised, as indicated to y'all, is it's from C2 to RA with conditional use of the PUD.
Thanks, sir.
With the approval process, what timeline are we looking at? Do you have a phase 1, phase 2, or are you looking at all out at one time?
No, it'll probably be in phases. But I mean, I would guess if we got zoning tonight, I would guess it would be
I guess,
close to 90 days before we had some plans to start, and then probably 90 days to 120 days before there was some lots on the ground.
You got soil erosion issues as well.
Yeah, there's a lot, lot of stuff to deal with. The DOT, there's a whole lot of stuff. So I mean, it'll be 8 months before there's a lot on the ground, I would guess.
You don't have green space in there.
Yeah, there'll be a good bit of green space. They'll probably, there's a lot of area that's not usable. Yeah.
Anything else on the pro side? We can ask you to respond. Just
Sure,
a few
yeah,
minutes, you know.
sure, yeah.
Brandon,
Okay.
you may ask if anyone wants to speak in opposition.
If there's any of the residents that were here, yes, sir.
If you would, please stand and give us your name and
Mayor Council, my name is Don Porter and I live off the World Crossroads. Now, I know we can't stop the building. It's going to happen. It happened in Cherokee County. It's going to happen in Pickett County. And it's coming now. I think we have to start doing things, thinking about maybe slowing the traffic down from Ball Ground down to us at 65 and 55 when it gets to us. We need to put more traffic lights in. At Worley, we need it at the racetrack. We're losing lives down there. Friday, another one died. And there's going to be a lot more projects in Pickens and the city. We have to start thinking about safety because it's coming. I know Mr. Woodall's built in Cherokee. I've seen some, I've worked in them. They're coming, and they're coming soon. And we need a safety people or something to check this out and work with the county, work with the state to try to, make it safer for everybody. And that's what my concern is. I need to speak about it because I hate to hear another person killed.
I won't use this time to talk about Talking Rock and on Church Road, but I will say that the DOT, their first response on where the crossroads is going to be, it's not warranted. But when you build a home that they're referring to, they'll be forced to put a traffic light there because that road will become a major intersection.
Well, it's not only that, it's people from Tate that are using it for a
Yes.
cross and all up through there, come through there. You wouldn't believe that little road, how busy it is. Your officers catch super speeders down through there over 70 miles an hour.
Right.
I mean, your boys are very busy out in the interstate. They're just not going to slow down. And that is my concern. There's people out there who try to do it right and they're getting killed.
Well, what we'll do, we'll immediately probably petition the DOT to do a survey of that intersection. I know we already need one for the racetrack area, but we don't have it. Just the racetrack area does not produce the traffic that they say obviously does not warrant a traffic signal. But
This Friday, wasn't that the fourth one killed?
pardon?
This past Friday, isn't that fourth person killed down there?
Yes, but the amount of, the safety there is an issue, obviously. But the DOT will probably not put a traffic light there because all you have there are those businesses. And what we're planning in the future, and it was at the previous council meeting, there's going to be an access road off of 108 that you can travel all the way behind Sackett's down all the way from one end to the other. There might be a time when they would tie that back into a traffic light, but that is all Georgia DOT decision making, not the city council.
Yeah.
But we can complain to them from time to time.
Yes, I was hoping you and the county would start working, because I know the people out my way, even in the evening, they're going home and they're out on 5, the traffic's backed up the other way.
Yes.
And we need a light down there, and I know that's county, but maybe whisper in their ear, they need to work down there too.
Well, actually, I've got a note to the mayor's report. I'm going to discuss Antioch Church Road, which most people in Pickett County travel north. But I'm going to save that till the end, and we might talk a little bit more about your situation. But every traffic light in Jasper has got a history of negotiations with the DOT for it. And you'll talk to somebody from the DOT and they say, well, people get killed at traffic lights as well. And that is true.
Yes.
But at least you got a running chance. Instead of somebody T-bone you at 90 miles per hour, they should have stopped.
Yes. We can't help that.
And my argument to them was, like just Friday, matter of fact, when that fatality happened south, I was going north and had to go through that craziness at Antioch Church, but I'm going to reserve till the end. I told them, and they said, I told them that in their response, one of the guys' response was not an official response, it's just a person I know from the DOT. He wanted to tell me how dangerous it was just crossing an intersection. And we've all been nearly hit at an intersection before the traffic light, but I hate death traps pre-made and engineered that's going to get somebody killed. And if you go to Antioch Church Road, I promise you I'm not going to say another thing about it. We'll talk about it at the end if you want to stay for it.
One other thing, the hospital named the lake up there after the hospital, that's Lake Jasper.
Pardon?
The lake up by the hospital they're going to put in, they're naming it after the hospital, that's Lake Jasper.
It's actually got a different name. But anyway, thank you. Anyone else will speak in opposition? We probably went over the 3 minutes. Yes, sir.
I thought the whole area down through there was commercial, and now you're going to stick houses to 6 to an acre? Doesn't that seem like an awful lot of houses per acre? That's nuts to me. It just seems like way overdone. Because the whole thing down there through there is commercial, isn't it?
It is, and the request tonight is to change it from commercial to R3 with a planned unit development
But 6
involved.
to an acre? That's a lot of houses you dump in there in a short period of time. And I live off of Whirly Cross. I know how bad it is. You can't get across Whirly Cross to go south, now at all. And the light's going to help, but it ain't going to do it. You're going to put that many houses up out there. Really that simple. That's all I got to say. I'm very much opposed.
May I have your name?
Larry McElvain. And I'm very much opposed to the whole thing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am?
I'm Ann McElvain, live off Hoyle Cross Road too. I didn't really come prepared to speak, but I feel like my husband does, that that's an awfully high concentration of houses. There's a lot of trouble getting out onto 515 normal times of the day, especially, you know how bad the traffic gets around here at festival time. You can't even get out onto 515, and I feel like adding that much additional traffic on a small residential road like Whirly Cross Road is maybe not productive and maybe not in the keeping with the
Idea of Jasper.
the living arrangements and the way that our housing in a residential area is right now. I feel like that's an awfully high concentration of houses. I just recently became aware of this whole situation. I wasn't here for the planning commission meeting, so I just wanted to voice my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Entertain a motion.
Can I ask him a question?
You may. I'll let you put it in.
I do.
You know, I
I'm
just
gonna let
have,
Ann ask you the question.
Yeah, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Access, y'all are having from 5:15,
Mhm.
is that correct?
that was what I was going to bring up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, right now, there's a right turn in, right turn out
Right.
off of 515 into this property. And we, you know, expect to utilize that. And my projection would be half the traffic every day would pull out of there and go to that racetrack down the street to get, you know, in general. So I mean, I think half the traffic will go that way and half of it will come out and work the crossroads. I don't think it's going to be all the traffic going that direction.
Well, the properties that are there now and also your future development, thank God for old Highway 5.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to try to get out on 515.
yeah, true.
Denny, are you aware of all the restrictions that are built into the PUD designation? And again, it was originally designed as a mixed use, which it's not a requirement, but there are some pretty onerous restrictions in that designation. I believe we also have a committee, Brandon, is that correct, where the council and staff have consistent input on the progress of the project and oversight over the quality of the project and so forth and so on?
The only thing that I found in the actual zoning district, and what I've enumerated in your packet is to make sure that the applicant adheres to all the standards in the PUD. So what would happen is, my typical approach would be that the engineering firm that's doing our plan reviews, what would happen is they would submit a full set of civil plans, and it would go everywhere from GDOT review to all of the enumerations of section 94, 148, A through O, residential parking, outdoor lighting, stream buffers, street standards, and any other zoning steps that the consultant looks at. The only other one that I did add from the planning and zoning was that we would seek comments from Pickens County in regards to, once we get the civil site plan, they would comment on any sort of access off of the development on the Worley. And that would be something that is just a normal. So I mean, I can present you all a more solidified concept plan as we continue to go on the process, but I have not made it a condition of approval rather than just a staff bringing back to the elected body with, here's a site plan that they've presented along with any sort of.
That'd be informative.
Yes, sir.
And also start date restrictions, I think, or requirements.
There is I think a 12-month that they would begin, yes, sir.
Oh, but within 12 months.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of, I don't know every item in this, but that's something once we get this on, we look at that as we prepare what we're going to do. And we're trying to bring a top-notch quality thing here. We're not looking to come here and cut corners and do this one time. But to be honest with you, we want to come up here and build a community that you're going to be proud of, and you're going to be, like in Cherokee County, when I walk in there, they're glad to see me because they know I'm going to do a good product and they're not going to have any problems out of me, and the homeowners are going to be happy we're doing it. I'd like to do the same thing here. You know, we want to set a standard for other people to try to measure up against us.
When will we have a final on land use, 4 units per acre versus?
It'll probably be a few months probably.
And so you do recognize that there could be opportunity where it's only 4 per acre?
Oh yeah. I mean, 6 would be the maximum. It'll be somewhere between 4 and 6. We really don't know till we get all the hydrology done, and stream. You know, we already found the streams, you know, where the buffers are, but we've got to do grading plans and hydrology. There's a whole bunch of stuff got to go into this before we really know. It's never what we think. I'm not going to tell you that, because we never get what we think we're going to get. So I think that'll be a few months before we have to.
And that'll be presented to the staff for
Yes.
approval.
Sure.
And part of my experience is, quite candidly, at these, even, you know, I don't know if you're a PE, I'm not a PE. So typically what happens is those professionals look at, and this is how we can position, and then on the site plan they put what the density is, and that's what I look at, and then count it, and then look at y'all and say they're well within their permitted use.
Is that amount something that will be discussed later with council for a final decision on count, or is it just solely dependent on what's?
The way that I've approached things at the staff level is that the applicant stated that he's willing to not exceed 6 units per acre, although he has up to 8. What I would do is, with any sort of input from the elected body, to say to the applicant, we approve predicated on not to exceed 6 units per acre.
And if he wants to go over that, he will need to come back to this body and
Correct.
see, and tell you what he wants. If he can stay below that, staff should be able to approve that.
Yes, sir.
Council, don't need to be coming in and go,
Sure, yeah, we won't be coming.
regulate you. Okay? Any other questions? Being none, we entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we zone it from C2 to RA. Is that correct?
Give her the correct. So,
Yes, it's RA with a conditional use of PUD.
Conditional.
have a motion? Need a second?
Second.
Got a motion, second. Discussion. Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We got item C, Planning Commission report, one parcel. I'll let you read all that, Brandon.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, Council, the Planning Commission met June 18th. There was an annexation request of parcel number 043B100, 160 Old Tate Road in Cynthia, Navarro. Staff did provide an analysis of this. However, there was no change in land use, no proposed use of the property other than in its current condition of a existing single-family residential property. There was a desire to annex in to then take advantage of the sewer tap-on, acknowledging the associated fees. Since it did have no adverse impact on the existing land use in the area, and it was compatible with the future land use as maintaining its existing, we did recommend approval with no further conditions. And with that, at the public hearing, there was no one to speak for or against. Council Commission member Martha Poole made the motion, the chair seconded, and it's here tonight for y'all's consideration.
In the name of motion.
Make a motion that we annex it into the city, into the parcel number.
Have a motion to annex approve the annexation request as presented by Brandon, and all the information for the annexation will be in the minutes. Right, okay.
160.
Need a second? Got a motion, second, discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. It's unanimous. Item D, request to use green space, East Spring Street. Brandon, did you get a call from me today? Is that what this is about?
Yes, and she actually, Ms. Amelia had actually requested to table this matter, although she had originally wanted to present you all with some definitive dates on conducting the event. She asked respectfully if the item could be tabled.
Why don't we just let it go by the board and put it on next month's agenda? She wants to make a request. Because it's really nothing, if she wants to make a request, it should be a slam dunk, shouldn't it, pretty much?
It's, I will tell you background in terms of, I think everyone knows it's the Cornbread Reunion that puts on at the green space area.
Okay, let's just do it this way. Make a motion to table this item D, request from Amelia McIntyre about use of city green space. Got a motion? That was John. Motion second, that was Ann. Discussion? Then all in favor, vote by show of hands. It'll be under old business next time. I guess I'll move up the list a little bit. Under new business, item E, proposed to amend service delivery area map. David Hall, Brandon.
Mr. Mayor, Council, the Staff was made aware through the analysis of the previous rezoning request that there was a portion of our city limits that was within the service area of Pickens County, the water, sewer, service delivery area of Pickens. There is a provision in the state constitution, the mayor and I discussed along with GMA legal counsel, that it is prohibited from the county to serve city residents without any sort of contract or agreement. We do have the comprehensive plan that was approved last year, that there was that map in the agreement whereupon it's still delineated that being part of, so even though the city limits. Therefore, we approached the county to inquire as to what we could do in terms of any sort of map amendment to incorporate this within our service delivery area so we could serve, whether it was this applicant or any future, it was mainly for the property owner. It was advised that they would be receptive to considering a map amendment should staff seek approval for that. Their request is, I think you had a map in your packet that delineated a geographical area of Hill City Road. The area geographically is a much larger area than the one that we would propose amending. However, that is well outside of our corporate city limits. However, we would be able to retain the existing customers that we have. The customers we currently have, we would retain those.
Where is this exactly? I'm looking at this map. I know my way around, but I'm lost.
If the best way is if you travel out
Hill City Road?
along 53 Hill City Road, and it's essentially the triangular piece. That's you take a left, the elementary's on the right. You take a left on Hill City, go down that gravel road, essentially turn up, and now I'm missing the name of the road, but it's nearly the triangular shape that then comes behind the church out there. So it goes up to Waddy. What's the name of that road?
It'll come down to Jerusalem Church Road, which our service delivery don't go all the way to Jerusalem, but it's close. And Mullinax Road, that area in there.
The tree farm. Are we close to the tree farm?
Is it Gibson Trail? You're on the right-hand side.
Okay, on the
That's
left
where the
side?
tree farm was at.
Okay.
Yeah, I can get.
We don't have water line there now, do we?
No. Our water line stops at right past Stivers Road, first residence on the left, past Stivers Road.
Gibson Trail and all this.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I mean, I was a little bit of panic over this, but this area has always kind of been no man's land.
Right.
And it is part of our service delivery area, and the service delivery agreement, House Bill 49, was established for very much times like this, when there's a good chance to serve the public. The one with the best capabilities should do that, and I believe the county is wanting to, and the city council, I think you probably should. I want to say no, and I'm so excited to say yes. I think it'd be a good idea. We've been looking at that area for years, and we have no way of providing service.
Yeah, definitely not fire protection. It'd be a huge
It used to be a 2-inch water main. They can have that chicken farm over there. They'd like that, wouldn't they? Okay. With that, if council understands, I think that would be, I don't think that we would have to because of the request from the commissioner. I'm sure Brendan explained to him that was in the city and we had all rights and privileges to it once they let us annex it in a few years back. But that's not, with that, we're going to give them out of our good graces of our heart, but we're not expecting good graces out of their heart. But once we annex a piece of property in the city, we have the right to provide sewer and water. In the county, we don't have to have an agreement with them to provide water outside the city. Most of our customers are outside the city, but not the sewer customers.
We have sewer county-wide. They give us that jurisdiction, the sewer county.
Well, we'd have to buy water from them, meter it from them to do it, because the only way we can keep up with our sewer bills is through our water meter.
Yeah.
So with that being said, as long as you explain to the commissioner, we go back and say, so we didn't give it to you because you gave us this, we gave it to you because it's common sense. I think would be the best position the city would take. Now, I'm through, let the council ask any questions they want. we need to really mark this map up before the council approve that map, showing that there is borders to it.
Yes, sir. It would, this would essentially give me the ability to
Move forward.
to move forward. I told the chairman that I was not comfortable without approaching the elected body.
And really and truly, you look at our service delivery map, it looks like somebody threw paint on it and let it spread out. There was no real borderlines or surveys for that service delivery map. So yes, I believe council would entertain a motion to let Brandon proceed on negotiating with the county commissioner on squaring up the service delivery boundaries.
So,
I believe she beat you, Brandon. But I take a second.
second.
Got a motion is second. Discussion? Being all in favor, vote with your hand. Thank you. Thank you, guys. That's good work. Let me get back to my agenda. Okay, item F. So we be here, that become old business, basically, that when we just did. Keep it on the list to come back, because Brenda's got to bring some out back to approve. That's done, but matter of fact, it is done. When we bring it back, you bring it back as new business. Okay. Item F, proposed dump fees at water pollution control plant.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm asking David to sit here just I've begun wanting to kind of put some measures in place. Admittingly, I have let staff know, as well as the vendors, that this may need to be revisited in the future. That what I was essentially trying to do was take an existing arrangement, as we have with a few of our vendors, and provide some sort of codification. I think it's essentially going to pretty much even out in terms of monetarily. But in speaking with the few vendors we have, pumper trucks that will come and utilize our facility, those existing vendors would be charged 6 cents per gallon, and we did put a cap of not to exceed $120 per trip on a single axle, and $180 per trip on a tandem. This was modified from my original approach in meeting with the vendors this past Thursday. Dave facilitated the meeting, and they did appeal that, they would be receptive to that, along with seeking out what services they currently provide us. There are some weeks where they spend a really good amount of time out assisting us, pumping out manholes or lift stations annually as needed. So
Let me stop you right there and ask you, will this open it up for new vendors?
The way that I've approached it is that we are only, because of our limited capacity at this time, we would only be seeking to codify the existing arrangement.
Okay.
So we would not.
That's always our biggest concern.
We would not be able to, and that's why I wanted to meet with them, because I didn't want to go too far outside the realm of what our existing arrangement is. So with that, we would essentially reimburse them for their on-call services, because we do need a relationship with these vendors, because we do not have the equipment when we need to pump something out. We've got to, I told them, I said, when we call, we need you to answer, and that's one reason why.
6 cents a gallon.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Council, I guess you're trying to use the codify the 6 cents per gallon on the books, and then we'll still have a relationship with those pumper truck owners that are in existence, and everything's good?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, and the $250 service fee that they will charge us.
When we call them, they're going to be ahead of us, more than likely. Okay, with that, we'll entertain a motion to approve the request.
So moved.
Got a motion to approve? Motion second, discussion? Being all in favor, vote with your hands. If you will get with Lisa with this, make sure this thing gets lined up just right, so we'll have it regulated.
This is good.
This-
All Pickett County sewage, this is not septic tanks, we're not going back out of the county, like you had said, because believe me, they call every
You
week.
destroyed us one time.
Yeah, we were called terrorists.
Okay?
But, yeah, this is only Pickett County septic,
Companies. Everybody, a couple free, all we got.
yes.
Okay, with that, item G, proposed new leachate site.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, and I realized when the memo was provided that there were addresses with no accompanying illustration. So this morning, I worked on providing a handout. And I apologize, Mr. Pickett, I did not consult specifically on if this needed to be some sort of executive session. I'm not necessarily recommending to purchase real estate. However, it does involve private property. But I think it can be done for the staff to be elected. For historical reference, the leachate is I call it a business model that I think has been going on for a number of years. I don't think that we have ever solidified a home for dumping off the leachate. So we had, this came about because the current location that we're disposing of the leachate, or the trucks are coming, is a manhole out along 515 where the gateway development is being currently being built out or being graded. So I'm not sure exactly when they're going to ask us to no longer. It's going to be sooner rather than later, because as they continue to shorten their site, there's going to be more and more traffic. So with that, there have been several options. I put 4 options only because under the scenario of build or no build, there is always the fact that we don't do that. Staff would not recommend that as an option, but it is an option nonetheless. In no particular order, 1267 East Church Street.
That's a heck of an order, you.
Well, I put on here because this is property owned by Mayor Weaver. I did meet with the property owner at the site.
I'm going to stop you down and remove it from consideration. I think it's bad form on my behalf to negotiate that property.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
I had pros and cons on all those.
Okay, but
that being said,
I think it would be poor form for me to be in consideration, even though it'd be, I think, the best property.
well, we have 2 viable options. The 490 Liberty Lane is a location which is, I think, referred to as the city-owned cabin out at the Liberty Tank. You'll see on the illustration the highlighted parcel. The blue line is essentially what would need to be new infrastructure added in order to make this work. Essentially what David has advised me is there need to be a lift station put on the property, and then there need to be a force main run along Liberty Lane, whereupon it would be discharged into a manhole that would then be gravity fed all the way down to the red dot, which is the lift station. I'm not sure what it's referred to as. That is one option. We have not solidified a cost on any of these options. However, in light of the lift station and the force main, it's not inexpensive. I can say that much. The 315 Liberty Lane, I will say that under the option that I just stated, we would need to seek out assistance, cooperation, help from the property owner of 315 Liberty Lane, since we would be going on to the private property. The property owner is receptive, however, to this option that is option C. which would be entering into a lease purchase agreement where we would essentially acquire the rights to the entire road that leads to our lift station. Currently, that private road is on private property. And so the blue line indicates a line that we would have to install to the manhole, and then it would be gravity fed from the existing line that's highlighted black. This option would be, I believe, a 10-year lease, whereupon we would then take ownership of it afterwards. All the details associated with how it would work, I've not even delved into the lease purchase, other than the property owner is receptive to it. And it is, even in light of the previous model with the lift station force main, is one of the lesser expensive.
That can be my question, which is the most inexpensive?
And I'm not sure if I'm allowed to divulge the details to the preliminary terms, Lonnie. I'm not sure if that's been, but for the public, we would be willing to acknowledge $1,000 a month over a 10-year period. And then we would then retain the right of the property in perpetuity of that road to the lift station.
And in return, the road would have a 65-foot right-of-way. So we're actually getting more land than what the road is. So the road and 65-foot right-of-way.
Brendan, are you comfortable if we make a motion for you to pursue these in the best interest?
Well, right now, in this moment, I would probably not solicit the engineer for option B, just because of the need for the lift station. The only reason I would pursue that would be if this option did not work out, whether it's through an agreement, but because of the kind of cut and dry nature of, we would just have to get it surveyed, and then that survey would be attached to a legal document that Mr. Pickett could draw up, or their attorney or whomever, and we would just kind of have that. And David and I talked about this option does mitigate any sort of immediate exposure financially to us, whereupon the other one, we would bear a lot of the cost up front. This one would just be a recurring monthly that we would presumably keep in the leachate fees.
Are you good with that?
Talk a little bit to them about, David, our concern, chasing down for one of these for years, is trying to get the household and commercial sewer out of the leachate. So you're going to have to dump that into the pond and aerate it. What about the extra volume that you're going to have after these homes are built that they refer to? That's my concern, and that's...
It actually will help. We need a little bit more dilution into it. So it'll actually help us on that part.
But you still got to drop it into the pond, right?
Yeah, you still got to bring it in the pond. You still got to put the mixture in the pond. It's a little bit off right now. The leachate's got so strong, it's sort of
So you're going to like the solution through dilution going to
yes.
the pond? Okay.
Yeah, and you know, for their build out, it's going to be years, you know, down the road, 3 or 4 years probably before you're looking at 160 homes on it or whatever. And also too would be, even with the lift station, that's still private property. So his property was made for only a gravity line. It was never made or intended to have, you know, a leachate line tied directly to it.
Right.
So we would still have to pursue his
Put a line down
permission. Yes. So,
And you'll actually pump it from the top of the, let it drain from the top of the hill?
yes, yeah, that one line right there will go into that first manhole, right beside, you know, the property owner's fence. And he's saying, you know, he'll move his barbed wire fence out of the way as much as he needs. You know, the 65 feet will give us plenty of room to do the work, you know, that we need to do there.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, the dilution factor is not You know, where they're concerned, and that's the best thing about it, is there's no residential presently in that area, and the only residential there is the person that's gonna be in our partnership,
Right.
you know, so I don't know if
Our
I'm
favorite place would be to take it all the way to Wastewater plant and dump.
Yeah, but we got told Montview residents were,
Yeah, we've fought them for years.
no.
Okay.
So what do you want for us to do tonight, Brandon?
If you all would like to direct staff to pursue a particular option, what we can do is then work with the property owner and legal to devise, and if the terms were to be any different than what we kind of indicated here, we definitely bring it back to y'all, but I feel comfortable that that arrangement is possible.
Entertain a motion.
I'd like to make the motion, and let Brandon negotiate, work out the best deal for the city for options.
Got a motion to continue with the negotiation?
Option C.
With option C, I think that's one of the, but they could still bring something back to council if they find anything different, you know. Continue to negotiate. Got a motion to second, that was Tony. John made the motion. Any discussion? Any further discussion? Thank you for putting my picture on there though, it might look good if it went the wrong way.
Well, I was given a tutorial earlier, so I kind of.
Yeah, you did fine. I'll give you the shortest distance later.
Well, that's kind of some of the.
But anyway, any other discussion? That's out of hand. Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Good luck, guys. Item H, proposed purchase of service truck for water distribution. Brandon?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, council, in working with the department and with finance, we have decided to put this before y'all. Admittingly, it was a budgeted item. However, we've kind of just been wanting to be mindful of the budget, so we've not really pursued a lot of items on the front end, the first half. So with it being mid-year, with it being essentially probably 5 or so months worth of payments, if you all were to allow us, we do feel comfortable asking for consideration of a new service truck for Charlotte's crew. Currently, the one that she'll be replacing is a 2004, 2005 model vehicle that admittedly probably does need to be put on a lesser, not necessarily surplused out, but less day-to-day. There were 2 quotes received. Part of it is the availability and the price point. If I may, I'll Day Chevrolet at $54,846 has on the lot, and Shottenkirk Ford $62,191. The budgeted monies were to finance $60,000. But like I said, I don't think the full 12-month burden has passed, so our true burden for this fiscal year would be most likely 5 months by the time we.
That's a utility bed as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Chevrolet was less expensive?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we get the one Chevrolet lowest bid for $54,846.
Second.
Second.
Motion second, discussion.
Brandon, I know in the past we've bought these trucks. If I recall correctly, we had an experience with some brakes on one. Is this the same vehicle that we would experience the same issues with, same type of vehicle, or has that been resolved?
I do not know.
Lisa, do you know what I'm recalling? I believe it's one of Charlotte's trucks has a braking issue when they're hauling a trailer, and they've gone through brake set after brake set.
I'm not sure which one it is.
Would that be the 2017 model?
Yes, it's one of the new ones.
I can find out.
Okay.
I would suspect that would be more of a warranty.
And that was the reason I was asking, is I remember the discussion was it, from the dealership, it didn't fall under warranty.
Okay.
And it was our issue. That's my only concern.
I do not know.
Any other discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Unanimous. Item I, question concerning subletting of city property. Brandon?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council, staff has been,
John, I put John on there as well.
and I actually did lean on Councilmember Faust to assist me, and then I deferred over to Jason with JYSA. You'll see in your packet, I reached out to him in terms of City Park and ball fields. And essentially, what I was advised was, this is apparently when the league, or the city league, or the rec league, or however it was defined, was dissolved, or lack of participation, or whatnot, several years ago. JYSA had looked at utilizing the fields for travel teams, and/or local teams that would be requesting. They've essentially received through JYSA in-kind donation and monetary donations to then be put back into the field for maintaining it and/or equipment to maintain it. I did advise that it's my understanding that the policy has been to not rent out park facilities, rec facilities, etc., and that I would be presenting this to the mayor and council, that if there is an agreement I'm unaware of, admittingly I do not know, and I'm leaning on institutional knowledge of if there is or if there needs to be, in order to then enter an agreement with the city to JYSA that then enumerates in any agreement what their parameters of operating on the fields should or should not be.
John, with that, I recognize you, let you explain what's happened.
Well, basically what happens is that when North Cherokee League dissolved, we lost the travel teams. Just when it went away, we didn't have to have other teams to play. So baseball's evolving, and they've gone to what they call tournament ball. They play a lot of ball on Friday and Sunday. I mean, and the kids get to play it. So what JYSA is trying to do is grow some tournament ball teams here. And so they're practicing here because our fields ain't quite up to par for that yet. But we're working at it. We just bought what they call a needle for the infield. We spent $20,000 on the infield, what, 2-3 years ago when we met with you.
About 3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you get the pavilions, that's how you get the batting cages, that's how you get that. But it's just not being rented out. Everything's going back in kind into the maintenance of the field through JYSA.
Do y'all charge people for use of the field?
What the coaches do is they get together and they decide what they want to do, and they reach a goal, and that's what they spend their money on.
Are they part of JYSA?
Yes, it's going through JYSA.
I'm now talking about people who are using the facility.
It's going through Jason, who's trying to organize the tournament ball. Tournament ball is not really travel teams, but they're tournament balls. It's a different. Basically, there's been no rent or no gain made by JYSA. Everything has gone back in the field and helping the fields out.
Well, one of my dearest memories dealing with city government is if you ever lease a property, your liability insurance is pretty much null and void. But how it is, Mr. Pickett, if you'd like to reference this, give you an example. Let me put this to the Lions Club. The Lions Club is actively involved in the 4th of July celebration. The chamber is actively involved in the functions going on. They collect the money, they charge gates, but they're involved. But what scared me when I heard this was JYSA is not involved. They're just subletting the property. City's paying the utilities, cutting the grass, doing all the things to the property. And that's something that I didn't know.
Yeah, and the thing is we still got insurance. We've got league insurance for everything. JYSA, yeah.
But
And
you're still subletting the city property.
No, we're not subletting. What we're doing is trying to improve through in-kind.
Have you charged someone rent for the use of the property?
Never.
The people don't pay you to use the ball field?
No. The coaches make a goal of stuff that they want to do for their improvements?
There's been no checks made to JYSA by a person wanting to rent the field.
Not that I know of.
Okay, well, I understand there is, and that can't happen. That's got to come through the city government for that to take place. We can't just turn our fields loose to the private sector.
Well, I mean, JYSA's been doing the same thing since 19.
No, they don't, no, back in the days, we had a ball team, JYSA responsible, they cooked the hot dogs, they sold the tickets, they did everything. Now, JYSA don't have that control.
Oh, we're still scheduling fields like we've always done.
If I wanted to schedule the field, what would I have to do?
Call Jason and make arrangements.
And I would have to pay for that privilege?
What he's done is whatever the coaches have decided for 6 months, their improvements.
What
We
coaches?
ask the coaches that are
Are they
doing,
members of JYSA?
they are member,
Mr. Pickett, would you look into this? I don't mean to put John through the
What
third
kind of
degree.
legal organization is this JYSA anyway?
It's a youth organization that was
Is it a
formed by.
corporation?
yes,
Is it a company?
it's not a company, it's a board.
So it's not a company?
No, it's a board founded in order to provide ball.
Charters by what?
It was formed, you got me on the stand now. It was formed in order to provide as inexpensive of a youth sports association that we could afford in Jasper. It didn't cost city government anything. It was formed by parents who want, inside the city of Jasper, all goes all the way back to council members. John, I remember walking in to do JYSA football, and my eyes crossed when it happened, but it did. But we put everything under their guidelines, and that we give them the field. We never charge JYSA a dime for use of our facilities. And they would have baseball games. We did all this work for JYSA to provide the service. Even let them use the fields for football practice.
Well, if I want to go over there and play, why not have to? I'm
Really, that's what we're talking about tonight, because now JYSA don't have the control over those fields that they once had when we had scheduled ball teams all summer long.
Jason not a board member?
Yeah, Jason's on the board.
So,
And Jason talked all this to you 3 years ago.
He talked to me not renting the fields, because I never would agree to rent the fields because our insurance is not going to be worth anything.
But we've not rented the fields.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. So you're denying any rent of the fields. They get to use the fields for free.
Everything's for in kind.
In kind, no money.
Which means improvements, which is the infield, which is something that was part of their.
What do they do?
They take care of the infield. They just got through buying what they said, a needle machine for doing the infields. Baseball fields.
JYSA paid for that,
Yes.
and they didn't charge anybody anything for using those fields.
No.
Okay, good. As long as you're not charging anybody for using the fields, I believe the city council would be an approval of that, correct?
But if,
what
I still want to
is
know what kind of legal organization.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, seems
I
like
don't
there's a
know,
little,
I think it's just groups of parents got together and just decided.
it seems like there's a little confusion, and I know I am, when we're questioning concerning subletting city property. Would it be right of us to table this until
I think that would be the thing to
would
do.
be able to get back?
Because I was told that people had to rent the field from JYSA and that.
Because until I'm clear, it'd be hard for me to vote on.
Okay, Mr. Pickett, table this. We're entertaining a motion to table this item until next month.
I make a motion that we table the subletting of city property till next month, till the city attorney can.
Okay, need a second?
second.
Got a motion, second, discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. It's unanimous, thank you. Bill, whatever you need, we'll let you. Item K, alcohol license request for consideration, the old Mule House.
You skipped J.
Yeah, I have been marking line. Amendment, joint economic development agreement, timeline extension. Brandon?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this will most likely fulfill some of the item on the mayor's report. Under the heading of the Economic Development Committee, there has been a request, and I believe the county has already considered the request to, I think you have the resolution in your packet, perhaps. If not, I can read, Mayor, whatever.
If you would.
This is essentially an amendment to the existing joint resolution of the City of Jasper and Pickens County. This is modifying prior resolution. Whereas the City of Jasper and Pickens County entered into the joint resolution attached to Exhibit A, and whereas each government would like to amend said joint resolution, therefore be it resolved as follows. The timeline referenced in paragraph 1 of said joint resolution shall be modified to be 120 days from July 1, 2019. The EDD committee shall be granted the authority to develop the strategic plan referenced in paragraph 3 of the joint resolution. Development of this plan shall not be subject to the time limitations referenced in paragraph 1. That was the extent of the modification. I believe the original joint resolution is also included for reference. Thank you, Lisa.
What page is that? You got
That is like-
Okay, the EDD committee shall be granted the authority to develop a strategic plan referenced in paragraph 3 of the joint resolution. That's to spend money, isn't it?
Well, yes, sir, and part of, in the original, what the discussion had been is, in the original, under number 3, I believe there was $30,000 to be allocated for developing a strategic plan. And I think the concern was that the timeline to hire the EDD professional correlated with that of doing a strategic plan.
30,000, is that coming from the chamber money that we have, or money that we have here?
The
Chamber money.
release of the, I think, escrowed money.
We might need a committee report before we approve that. What do you think?
Be glad to.
I got that plan for the end.
Did we not vote on that a couple of weeks ago?
Well,
We did.
we want to, I wasn't here, evidently, that's what's got me confused about it a little bit. I think you and Kurt were appointed to a committee.
And Brandon.
I got, who did I say?
And Kurt.
Yeah, Kurt.
And Brandon.
And Brandon. Y'all had a meeting already,
Had 2 meetings.
2 meetings, and I got rumor that the county was moving on without us. Is that not the case?
No, sir.
Okay. That's what someone told me. I didn't have been in one of the meetings. When is your next meeting?
Tomorrow afternoon.
Where at?
Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, I guess I could attend if I make it up. I'd like to be there if I could. Not necessarily. I trust you guys to bring back a good plan. But I don't, okay. I don't agree with 30,000 getting spent, but I don't have a vote on it. We entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
You still involved with the chamber?
Yes, sir.
I think we should get someone else to make a motion on that.
So moved.
Got a motion? Thank you, John. Second.
I thought we had to.
And second.
I did.
Okay, got a motion and second. Discussion? Is the Chamber of Commerce going to handle this through the chamber, what the plan is?
Handle what, Mr. Mayor?
The funding and the house the development?
No, sir. The funding is from the escrowed monies that have been accumulated since.
Because that was supposed to pay an economic development.
Right. And so we are engaging a consultant to help us hire a director, which will eventually come back to the council for approval.
Who would be the consultant? Just curious.
The Tim Chasen Group of Georgia.
Tim Chasen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are they a law firm or a?
No, they're a consulting firm that specializes in economic development.
Okay. Any other discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Appears to be unanimous. City's portion, 30,000 we have in the funds now?
I'm sorry?
City has 30,000 in the funds, or the total county city funds?
I think the total funds now are about 85,000.
30 of it being the city.
No, sir, I think.
I'm not sure of the breakdown of it.
We don't pay what the county does.
No, sir.
So the city's not paying 30, the city and the county combined are paying 30.
Out of the 85,000.
Yes.
Approximately, yes.
Next item, before we go to executive session, I'm going to call a 5-minute break.
Still got Sonny,
Sound good for everyone? Pardon?
still got the alcohol.
I'll be dang. Before we go to that break, item K, alcohol license request for consideration, the old Mule House. Sonny, sit right where you're at, I'll let Brandon make a presentation.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, Mr. Underwood and I have consulted with the police department, and all relevant information has been received, and there's no findings to prove otherwise that the applications is in proper form for approval to be decided.
Okay, entertain a motion. And a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. Being all in favor, open show of hands. Unanimous. Thank you, council. Now, 5-minute recess. Okay, Economic Development Hiring Committee update. We got into earlier, but I think we can pretty much pass over if you want to.
Let me just make sure that the council and the mayor understands exactly what this committee is doing. There are 2 parts to it. One of those is finding an executive level person that will take our economic development strategy forward. And they will be doing a hire very similar to the hiring that Brandon went through. They have resources, they have connections, and people who specialize in economic development. So that's one part of it.
What's the cost of that? That's what people are concerned, ask me about.
Well, that'll be determined as we work through the process. I think that typically, based on our conversation with the consultants, that's in the $100,000 range. And ultimately, we'll have to make decisions about whether we want to participate, whether the county wants to participate, or how we want to partner on that hiring.
Is there other avenues to go besides hiring a consultant? Do we not have the capabilities? The state has several options that we can pursue for economic development.
I think those are things that we can evaluate during the process. I think most people, our county currently is the only county in our district that doesn't have a single point. They want a single person that they can go to with opportunities or to discuss these matters in a confidential way, but at the same time, there's transparency around the process if anything moves forward. The other part of the equation is the strategy part. They'll be developing a 3 to 5 year strategy that we will focus on with action points that we can actually, based on experts' opinions, things that we are interested in, and then also that we have the capability to do. And that'll be, at least a portion of this hiring person's duties will be to take that strategy and move it forward. Doesn't mean that'll be everything that we would want them to do. It's just a very organized and structured strategy. And these people these are competitive positions, and these people want to know what they're doing, what they're going to be doing when they get here. And so that's the other part of the equation. And so that's the nature of economic development in our state now. I'm sure most of y'all know, if not all of you, that Georgia leads the nation, I think now for 6 years in economic development. And it's a really hot topic. The other part of this process that I think is really important that everybody is concerned about is that actual governance piece of who this person reports to, who has the ability to make the decision that they're either hired, fired, or doing their job or not doing their job. And that's all part of the process that we'll be discussing. Again, using a consultant to help guide us. I encourage you all to look at the Chasing Group online, their website. They're currently doing same type things with Dublin, Savannah they've done, Henry County. I mean, it's just a myriad of people they've had successful searches for. And our last meeting, Tim Chasen actually came in and presented to the committee about the process. And it's, the first couple of meetings have been us kind of circling the yard a little bit from city and county and letting people give input on how they envision this happening. And so with that original proposal that was 120 days from start, we were already we were about 30 days into it already. That's for the reboot. That's why the 120. So, but that's where it is. I mean, it'll be a positive thing that we. I think Brandon's been a great asset. But it's that perfect, and we'll do the same kind of. They're going to bring us names if we have a position. It'll be handled in very much the same way, where we go into session and talk about these people, and we pick, we have a list, very similar to what we did with Mr. Douglas. So that's where we are. As far as the county moving on their own, they tried to, the authority what was a little worried about how quick this was moving, and they were going to go out and just hire somebody. And I think me and Amberly and some of the other folks that have been working on this for really since last August is when I first started talking to some of these consultants and studying how economic development could work. We convinced them to partner like this, and I think it'll benefit us.
Okay, I was led to believe that the county was pretty much into it from the sales.
Well, they might be, but we're at the table.
The rumor I had, I wasn't there. So anyway, thank you, Doc.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that. Cost construction aid committee update.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, the only update I've got from the June 3rd meeting, unfortunately, we've not physically met in person as a group. The only correspondence has been from us to our engineer, Chris Berger at Term C. Essentially, Mayor, Council, what we're wanting to seek out is to kind of build upon an existing kind of 515 sanitary sewer line contract that was kind of from the south up to Harmony School. So what I've asked the engineer to do is, right, wrong, or indifferent, is to analyze the 515 corridor and city limits, calculate the number of acreage that we have available for development, compare it with the land use, whether existing or future, with the highest and best use, take a look at our current capacity of water sewer, and then kind of analyze to see that, yes, we have all we ever need and there's really no cost associated with it, or the current existing structure of 3,500 per residential, along with the 4,000 per acre commercial, is adequate, or it can be adjusted to accommodate the existing infrastructure that we have. So that's kind of what we've asked them to do, is just look at, if, I don't want to say worst case, but as a scenario of all available in the city limits, what that would look like, and back into some numbers for us.
That sounds good. Any questions, Council? Okay, item C, parole roper pool property development committee update. I believe that's you, Mr. Proctor.
Yes, sir. There's really no update there. We're waiting for the initial cost analysis from Clark Patterson and Lee on the development of that park. Maybe it's, they have done a nice document that I've shared with a couple of the council members. Maybe we should share it all, maybe at a work session, and at least go over it, and then move forward as we move. Hopefully it'll be a reasonable cost that we can address our next budget cycle.
Tag along on that. I don't know if we don't have a committee, but I did sign off on the financing of the purchasing of the bank property. What's the plans on that for the public?
It'll be tied to that same kind of north-south public restrooms park. We've also had some conversations about the Freedom Park, where the Historical Society is working on the cabin and the jail, and then our park, which is right across. So I'm hoping we'll be able to tie those all together.
Okay. Okay, SPOS 2020 committee update.
We've tried to meet up with the commissioner. We've got a meeting setting for July the 7th at 2. And so we're going to hopefully have a chance to
2 o'clock, July 7th.
Yes, sir. But that,
Oh, it's 9.
I mean, it was at the night.
The 9th.
It's a Tuesday, whatever that is.
No.
It's not.
Okay. Item E, financial report.
Council and Mayor, in your packet, you have the finance report through June of 2019. Looking at the general fund, overall, we're under budget. We have one department that's over, and that's legislative, and that's due to the lawsuit bills primarily. Also, the group insurance was more than budgeted, had been budgeted, and the training for Savannah, has been paid for within that, so that made that go over this so far this year. All the other departments are pretty much in line. We collected sales tax for June of 2019 of $120,459 compared to $107,941 last year. Year to date, we're at $683,809 compared to year to date last year of $612,030. Moving on to hotel motel. This is the end of June, so we'll be sending them a check for the quarterly collections of hotel motel tax. They're 66.6%. Moving on to the SPLOST, we collected $93,677 compared to $83,663 last year. We have a balance in that account, cash account of $1,356,000 right now. Water fund, water and sewer fund. Most departments are right in line with budget. The water plants should be at 50%. It's at 56% right now, and that's, I'm sorry, the wastewater plant. That's due to some group insurance being more than we expected, or I guess more employees.
That was 56% versus 50%?
Mm-hmm. CC or the report that had some professional fees paid through that for wastewater plant improvements. All the licenses that have to be renewed or have to be done before June. It may ease back down, by the end of the year. Be more in line with what it should be. And we had to pay a hauler while our grit sludge removal. For grit and sludge removal, we had to pay a hauler while our truck was being repaired. And we spent more money on motors and pumps for the lift stations than we had budgeted. Everybody else was pretty close in line to 50%. That is all I have to report.
What is the estimated revenue versus the actual?
For water,
No, over and all.
You gotta write it down.
I would have to add all of that, but if you look at the top of each one of these pages, it'll show you, like, of course, general fund, it's gonna be a little more because we're booking taxes as they come in, and they come in first year. We're at 58% in the general fund, and water and sewer, we're only at like 41%. But a lot of the leachate and, we got a whole month's worth of bills that aren't booked yet because they come in a month after. So that's not bad. That's also, I'm saying receipts, receivables.
Okay.
Yeah, because this was the biggest month we've ever had in sales.
Leachate,
No, water sales.
water sales?
But they haven't come in yet, so.
Yeah, 45 million.
Anybody waters the grass? Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Lisa. Roads and other reports, Lon.
Okay, Mayor and Council, I checked with the World Fibers today as far as the mass arms. They have been shipped. They're supposed to arrive at their LJ yard Wednesday, and they said starting next Monday, weather permitting, that they would start installing them. And they're going to go ahead and or work around the 4th of July the rest of this week, running some wires and things that they have to do. But so it sounds like that's moving forward. Out toward Talking Rock, where we put in that water line, we've got some driveways that need to be repaired. I talked to Kevin Moss. He's supposed to be coming in next week to complete those driveway patches. He would have already had it done, but the rain and everything put him behind on some contracts he had. And so he's playing catch up now. We will be opening the paving bid the 9th at 1 o'clock for the paving project, doing between 7 and 8 miles. The second contract will be going out so that we can conclude all of our paving this year. And so that will be ready. In case you get some calls, we had an erosion problem down at the Gateway project. Went down and inspected that, talked to the owners and the contractors. They really went above what I asked them to do and what the city requires for them to do, correcting that problem. So it's all been corrected.
Who met with you?
I talked with JR, and I talked with
Did JR come down and look at it?
as far as I know, he did.
I thought he was with you, I thought you went down.
He didn't meet me down there.
Oh, okay.
No, I talked to him, and then the contractor.
Oh, okay.
He went, I met with them twice.
Okay.
And I've had a lot of questions about the dog issue that happened Friday. There's only been one that has been seen since that incident, as far as I know, unless something's happened today. I did assist the county Saturday till about 1:30, 2 o'clock, and we still haven't located the one that's still roaming. But,
What area is it supposed to be in?
excuse me?
What area is it supposed to be?
The last track that we had of it definitely was over around Kroger. And it was here in town on Chambers Street. And it left there, went down through the park, over to the dollar store. That's when the law got behind it and proceeded on west.
Okay, what else you got, Lon?
That's about it.
Okay, stay right where you're at. I want to use you as a segue to Antioch Church Road. How many council members and anyone else has gone to LJ or Gilman County and seen what's been built at Antioch Church Road? I've gotten calls, I'm sure you've gotten calls, want to know what in the world's going on. And I spoke with senators, state senators, and whomever, and I asked Mr. Gooch the other day, and I told him I was going to say this on camera and whatever, but who are we going to hold responsible for that fiasco? Because I'm not going to say anything about economic development. All four corners are now ruined economically. You can't access them. And the truck turned around. If one of your family members going up that road and not paid any attention, and the DOT say you need to be paying attention, but people are driving 90 miles an hour, trying to merge within 400 feet is impossible. And I take a little privilege here, council, to say that that's the biggest fiasco, and the city council and the county commissioner were totally opposed to it when we had our public hearing some few years back, and they paid no attention. But go look at it if you've not seen it, and you can voice your own opinion on your own post or whatever you want to do, but this is my post, and I'm telling you, the DOT's made a heck of a mistake.
Just total confusion, right?
It's going to be scary, and we got senators the speakers of the House right up and down that road, other officials, and they're all talking about it, so I just want to be out in the open how I feel. I'll take Highway 5 to get by that intersection. That being said, thank you, Lonnie. Did y'all meet this morning with the DOT?
No, we did not. It was canceled this morning.
Okay. Police report, Chief Lowe.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jasper Police Department for the month of June responded to 788 calls from the 911 center, responded to 55 motor vehicle accidents, issued a total of 91 citations for the following: 60 for speeding, 5 for seatbelt, 1 child restraint, 2 shoplifting, 2 texting while driving, 1 reckless driving, 17 miscellaneous, 1 suspended or revoked, and 2 possession of marijuana less than an ounce. Georgia State Patrol issued a total of 48, a grand total in city court of 139 citations. Issued 2 state warrants, 2 counts of aggravated assault and family violence felony. Miscellaneous calls responded to 48 alarms, 11 disorderly, 8 harassment, 8 trespassing or loitering, 31 suspicious activities, 14 domestics, and investigated no burglaries.
Question, Captain?
Thank you.
In addition, I think Mr. Douglas went on a mission. We met with the Sheriff's Office with the upcoming, you'll be here before you know it, Jeep Fest. Got that coordinated. We're going to the same plan of action as it was. It'll be on August 30th this year. In addition, me, Fire Chief Brandon, and the Sheriff's Office met with the Lions Club, Ms. Miller and Mr. Lindsay, and got our parade coordinated, and the fair, as you well know, is going. We have off-duty officers down there working, and parade starts at 10 and fireworks at 10:05.
Which way the parade goes this year?
Methodist Church and goes north and turns by the old jail and sits by the old Jasper Bank Company.
Chief Lowe, sir.
Mayor, Council. For the month of June, the city's fire department responded to 110 emergencies. Those were no structure fires inside or outside the city, no vehicle fires in or out, no grass or brush fires in or out. 5 motor vehicle accidents with injuries inside, none outside. 42 emergency medical responses in, 37 out. 16 other calls in, 10 out. Majority of those were associated with a little storm that blew through last week. As of the end of the month, 673 calls, fire inspection looked at 3 sets of plans and conducted 16 inspections.
Questions, Council?
If you will excuse me, duty calls, we've got a car wreck going on and a fire alarm, so I need to go.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Your excuse, Chief. Any other business? Kind of motion to adjourn.